You have one unheard message.
Hello, Jenny.
Hello, Jenny.
I need some help.
You'll never believe what they said to me.
Help me, Jenny. Help me, Jenny.
Hi, it's Jenny, modern day etiquette expert. I'm here to help. All of your awkward encounters, uncomfortable boundaries, and questionable social interactions are welcome here. We can navigate them together with warmth, empathy, and curiosity because Jenny says so. Let's get into it. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us here today. We have a tough one today. We're going to get into some boundary setting. So let's get to the voicemail. And that's my boundary I'm going to set. You got to go listen to the voicemail.
You have one unheard message.
Hi, Jenny. Oh my goodness, I'm so glad I found your podcast. It's been such a helpful resource. Here's my question. As we start the new year, I'm thinking about setting some clear boundaries, especially with my family. So, what advice do you have for adult children dealing with parents who may be immature or who weren't very supportive during childhood? Like specifically, how can I help them stay independent for as long as possible while also protecting my own emotional and mental well-being and health so that I'm not taking on a caregiving role before it's absolutely necessary? I hope this resonates with others too. Thank you so much for your insight. Sincerely, Confused About Caregiving in California.
So I very much appreciate this question coming in from this sweet listener. And here's the thing that I want to remind you. First, up top, boundaries can be both communicated and internal. There are boundaries that we must communicate to people like, please don't send me that kind of information. I don't want to know about this topic. And there are boundaries that we set inside, which are things like, I am not going to talk with my father about my medical issues because every time I do, he makes it about him, and that's uncomfortable for me. That's not something that you need to communicate to your father. That's just something that you have inside that you've decided is how you're going to handle that relationship. When we set a quiet boundary, it doesn't mean that we're manipulating somebody. It just means that we are deciding what that relationship is with them. And that's not something that they get to weigh in on, so it's not necessarily something that we need to communicate. The other part of this question is, I'm going to read it. How can we help our adult parents stay independent for as long as possible while also protecting our own emotional and mental health? And I think a lot of people my age are coming into this period of their lives where their parents are reaching their 60s and their 70s. And now it's a question of how involved do we get? And that is a case-by-case basis. But I believe that we cannot be responsible for other adults who are, by all accounts, capable of taking care of themselves. And we cannot get involved in their business until we are invited or asked and until our voices are heard. I think it can be very frustrating sometimes to have a parent or a guardian or an aunt or an uncle or grandparent or a much older sibling ask your opinion about their future, whether it's medical or professional, and then sort of disregard you. I think that in such cases, I've tended to hold back a little bit and ask a lot of open-ended questions, but not really provide too much advice until I'm asked, until it's at least, even if it's not followed, until it's sort of heard. Because you don't want to be offering advice that doesn't go anywhere and isn't even heard and respected. Just because somebody asks for your advice doesn't mean they have to follow it, but it does mean they have to sort of give it at least a beat of consideration. Getting back to this idea of boundaries too, is in order to be adults in the world, we need to start understanding and accepting what other people can and can't handle. It might seem unfair or not nice to not be able to share exciting work wins with your mother. But there are some moms out there who simply can't handle that. They hear an exciting work win and it starts them spiraling about, oh, well, maybe your boss is actually mad at you, maybe this, maybe that. And they take you down a road. And now they're throwing their anxieties at you. And you can say to your mother as many times as you want, Mom, when I tell you an exciting work win and you start in on how that's going to negatively affect me, that really bums me out. That's a boundary. That's something that you're communicating. And you can say to her, please don't bum me out. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work. Some mothers are going to hear that and go, oh my gosh, I didn't even know I was doing that. And then some mothers are not going to be capable of stopping themselves. And so you need to learn it's not loving at a certain point to continue giving your mother fodder for anxiety. And it's not loving to yourself either. That's not self-care. You're actively going to the place over and over again, knowing that the well is dry and looking for water. So there needs to be an internal boundary that you set there that goes, you know what, it's not worth it for me to set that, to communicate those work wins with my mother. I'm going to have to find another place to celebrate work wins with. And I bet you can find that other place outside of your mother, because guess what? You already didn't have it. It can be very hard as we age to have parents who rely on us when we feel that when we were children, we weren't able to rely on them. And I think that, one, validating that, I am validating that for you, that it is not fair that there were adults who are now trying to rely on you as an adult who you weren't able to rely on when you were a child, when you were most vulnerable and unable to find anybody else and sort of at their mercy. That's unfair. And that is, and I don't usually curse on this show, but it's shitty. I think that this is where therapy comes into play for a lot of people. And I recommend finding a good therapist or therapeutic coach that you can work with to start unraveling those pieces, because this is not, unfortunately, something that I can unravel on a 15-minute podcast. But I think the first step is accepting that it is unfair. And the second step is heading to Fresh Starts and trying to find a coach or therapist that will work with you and for you. Because again, that is another thing. Nobody can tell you what therapist is going to work for you. You have to go and sort of get their vibe. But setting clear boundaries is tough. The first step is allowing yourself to accept the fact that you might have to set boundaries with people that you love and people that have raised you. And then the third step is accepting the fact that the people that you love and who have raised you might have done what they call the best that they could do, but it wasn't good enough. And that is a big bummer. So holding you in that, knowing that sometimes being an adult and the most loving thing that you can do for yourself is accepting the big bummers. Take a deep breath. Come to us if you're looking for a therapist and you cannot find one, please reach out. We will do our best to help you connect with one. This is a toughie, but I think there are many of us who are navigating it in different ways, and some of us who are navigating it in the same way. So all my love to you. Thank you for reaching out. Thanks for tuning in to Jenny Says So. Remember, setting boundaries and practicing modern etiquette isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up with kindness, respect, and authenticity in every interaction. Keep practicing, keep learning. Don't be afraid to stand up for yourself when needed, and never forget, no is a complete sentence. Do you have a question you need a little help with? Head to freshstartsregistry.com/JennySaysSo and ask away. All questions are anonymous, and I'm here to help.